Conor McGregor, UFC champion, in his very first movie as one of the main villains of the film. Man, he looks like he had a total frickin' blast making this film. What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is OCD Movie Reviews. My name is On The Brinkat, and today I'm going to review the latest movie that came out on Amazon Prime, and that movie is Roadhouse. This movie is a remake of the 1989 classic with the same name with Patrick Swayze. This movie is directed by Doug Liman, and this movie stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Conor McGregor, Daniela Melchior, Jessica Williams, and Billy Magnussen. Ex-UFC fighter Dalton takes a job as a bouncer at a Florida Keys roadhouse, only to discover that this paradise is not all it seems. So like I said, this movie is a remake of the 1989 cheesy cult classic Roadhouse that stars Patrick Swayze. Now, I haven't seen the original Roadhouse before I saw it before this movie. I heard that it has Patrick Swayze. I heard it's a classic, it's a classic, guilty pleasure 80s movie with Patrick Swayze. So I decided to watch the original leading up to this movie, and yes, it is probably one of the most cheesiest action movies that I've ever seen, but I enjoyed myself throughout it. Patrick Swayze was a badass in the original film, so after watching that film, I'm curious to see how this remake does. I love Doug Liman. If you don't know him, he directs movies like Mr. and Mrs. Smith and The Bourne Identity. Really good action movie, so I was interested in this remake, and I gotta say, guys, in my opinion, I enjoyed this remake. I had a fun time with Roadhouse. One of my biggest praises with this movie is that this movie is absolutely aware of itself. It knows it's a remake of one of the most cheesiest 80s films of all time, so it kind of sticks that charm to it. This film is cheesy, this film is ridiculous at moments, but it's just a complete fun movie overall that's not trying to take itself way too seriously. It's trying to be a fun movie as it is. I would say Jake Gyllenhaal is really good as Dalton in this film, and I would say they developed Dalton's character much more better in this film than the original, because they explored his character a lot more. He's an ex-UFC fighter that's very, very broken in this film, and Jake Gyllenhaal plays this role really well. Like, this shows that Jake Gyllenhaal is a great actor. He can play dramatic performances very well, and he can play this performance very, very well. And absolutely, his character is much more different than Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze is just an average guy that's a bouncer, so there's nothing that fears him, In this movie, there's stakes with Jake Gyllenhaal's character, and I really do like that about this film. But Jake Gyllenhaal does a pretty good performance in this film, so is the rest of the cast. Jessica Williams is great as the bar manager. Also, Billy Magnussen as the main villain of this film. He is over the top, but he's also really enjoyable to watch in this film. I gotta say though, Conor McGregor, UFC champion, in his very first movie as one of the main villains of the film. Man, he looks like he had a total frickin' blast making this film. He is very over the top in this movie, but he looks like he enjoyed himself acting in this film. So honestly, watching him enjoying himself made me enjoy liking Conor McGregor in this film. Yes, he is physically buff in this film, and during the action scenes, he is freaking badass. The fight scene between him and Jake Gyllenhaal is really well done, especially the final act. It is brutal, but so well done. And Conor McGregor, for his first movie, he does a pretty fun performance in the film, even though he's very over the top in this film. But like I said, this film is very self-aware of itself. It's not trying to take itself way too seriously, so I'm completely fine with Conor McGregor's performance in this film. But I gotta say, speaking of action, the action scenes in this movie, they're just a lot of fun. The hand-to-hand combat scenes are really well filmed. For the most part, there are some issues with the action scenes, which I mentioned that in the flaws of the movie, but most of the action scenes are filmed very, very well. Doug Liman does really good, fast-paced action scenes that look really, really cool. I even like the location that they filmed this movie, It's different than the original. The original is just a normal town and all that stuff. What I remembered in this movie is a beach house location, and I thought the way this movie looks beautiful. I love the beach location, the ocean location. It looks very, very nice. And the story of this film, it's still the exact same story that was seen in the original, but they did some stuff different with it, make this movie more fresh and make it feel like its own thing, and that's what I like about this film. It felt like its own thing, but it's also very self-aware of itself for what it was. So yeah, throughout the story of the film, I was intrigued by it, I was enjoying it for what it was, not taking it seriously, just feeling self-aware knowing what this movie is. Yes, there is a couple of issues with this film. First of all, Again, this is not a perfect movie at all. This is not a perfect movie. There are so many moments where this movie gets very, very over the top, very, very cheesy, but there's also some really bad CGI elements in this film at a couple of moments. There is a specific scene where a car tries to run over Jake Gyllenhaal, and that CGI scene looks terrible. I'm like, damn. That looked really bad. Like, I wonder how they filmed this scene, but at the same time, there are some really bad CGI in this movie. And also, I'm gonna be honest, it's the same problem that I have with the original film, is that I didn't buy the romance between Jake Gyllenhaal and Danielle Melchior. I thought Danielle did a fine job in this film, but honestly, their romance is probably one of the most least interesting aspects of this film in my personal opinion, and it's the same aspect of the first one. I didn't buy the chemistry between Patrick Swayze and this blonde chick. It's the same feat here with this remake. I would say the difference between the original remake with her character is that she has much more exploration, but at the same time, it's still one of my least favorite elements in the film, and it's not Danielle Melchior's fault. She is good in the film. I just find her character not as interesting as I wanted. Their romantic chemistry just felt like my least favorite element of the film. But overall, guys, Roadhouse is exactly what you think it is. This is a movie that you have to feel self-aware of what it is. It's a cheesy, fun action film, and I gotta say, it's actually a pretty solid remake, and I think this remake, I'll say, it topped the original in my personal opinion, because they did some things much better in my opinion than the original film. I didn't think the original holds up in my personal opinion, even though I did enjoy still the original film. This film is a lot of fun. The action is good. Jake Gyllenhaal does a really good performance in this film. He is super ripped, by the way. Like, man, he is buff in this film. But his acting was good. Conor McGregor is so over the top to fill the rest of the cast. Does a great job in the film. The overall environment of this film, it is fun. I honestly don't understand why this movie isn't in theaters, like it's on Amazon Prime. Why? This would have done pretty well in the box office, because this is the right representation of a fun summer movie. So I gotta say, for this remake of Roadhouse, if this movie was in theaters, I would say I would see Roadhouse at a matinee price. But of course, it is not in theaters, so it's on Amazon Prime, but I would recommend you guys to check out this film. So guys, that is my review for Roadhouse. Let me know what you think of this film in the comments below. Do you like the film, hate the film, or your thoughts, okay? Just let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Keep in contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. Be nice everyone, and have a nice day.